Why is this show called This, You May ask? So I'll tell you. The accepted meaning of angel is messenger, and the accepted meaning of destiny is to make firm establish. So my guests and I bring you messages to establish what you need to know in the present. And also I like working with angels and the calmness they bring. Now, in a moment, I will introduce you to my wonderful guest, Victoria Smith-Gillard. But before that, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching this show live or at a later date, as it means a lot to me to connect with like-minded women. Now, if you've never met me before, then my name is Ray, and I love to help women to crossroads in their life, heal their past, create their future, and transform their present so they can take charge of their destiny in the here and now. I'm the founder of Radiant Angel Energy, and I use future life progression, past life regression, angelic Reiki, guided meditation, angel cards, and hypnosis to help women who feel lost get clear on their destiny and their reason for being here. And I've also created a transformational journey and a journey through lifetimes. Now, each episode of the show will cover various themes of your journey, a mini guided meditation or angel oracle card reading with the wisdom of my wonderful guests, like today's guest, Victoria Smith-Gillard, who'll be sharing how your pets mirror yourself. Now, Victoria is the director of Ametrine Holistics Limited, and her mission is to create deeper unity, understanding, compassion, and connection between people and their pets so they can live more harmoniously. As a people and pet therapist, Victoria predominantly helps female pet owners to resolve behavioural and emotional issues with their pets, i.e. separation anxiety, bereavement, sibling issues, noise phobias, etc. She can also help our owners to heal the issues that are playing a part in the presenting problem. Her passion is canine flow, helping dogs to release fear, stress, tension, trauma, and more from themselves, allowing them to feel safer and calmer and less reactive. It can influence and transform their behaviour. As dogs are our mirror, Victoria can also help owners heal the issues that are influencing their dog. With testimonials such as, we had a problem with our Yorkshire Terrier, Cookie, continually licking his paws, his bed, the air, pretty much everything. I'd read somewhere on the internet that it was a sign of nausea, but nothing we had tried seemed to make any difference. Then we got in contact with Victoria, who came and spoke to Cookie, who complained that actually his teeth and gums hurt. Since that day, we've started brushing his teeth, and he actually looks forward to this each morning. And no more licking. We are so happy to have our happy little fella back, and it's all thanks to Victoria and her wonderful animal communication skills. I would recommend unhesitatingly for any animal-related issues. So, without further delay, hello, Victoria, and welcome to the Angels and Destiny show. How are you today?
I'm good. A little bit warm, to say the least, but I'm good, thank you.
Just a little bit warm. So before we get into this fascinating conversation, I want to remind you that you can also ask questions, leave comments and thoughts, as both Victoria and I want you to be part of this show. So please do not be shy. So Victoria, why don't you tell us more about yourself and how our pets actually mirror ourselves?
Yes, I would be more than welcome to, or I'd be more than happy to. So just a little bit of background with myself. So I'm a people and pet therapist, as you will know, and for around 8 years I worked in vet referrals until we were made redundant. And at that point I was at a crossroads. I was at that point of either just continue what I was doing administration and kind of various other roles that I could have done. Good evening, Lorraine. Lovely to have you here.
Lorraine.
Welcome. Thank you. So I had that choice to either continue on that same path or to actually decide to follow my heart. Because we'd actually received some redundancy payout, I decided to follow my heart, and I've not really ever looked back. So to keep it short, you know, I've trained in lots of different therapies, both on the human side. I always say humans rather than people, just because I work with animals, so it just seems the right thing to say. So trained in human therapies, but also trained in animal therapies as well, to actually assist both. And, you know, in terms of my business life, I did begin just, you know, working with people. So I was, you know, seeing anybody and everybody for, you know, issues that were holding them back. Good evening, Jackie. Nice
Hi,
to have
Jackie.
you. And then I just realised something was missing from the business. And at one point, you know, it culminated when I was watching YouTube, and I was really fascinated with doing animal healing with like the larger animals, the larger mammals. And I was watching a tiger having healing on YouTube, and I burst into tears. And I was like, well, that's really random, and I wasn't expecting that. And so I, you know, me being me, I went away and I reflected on it. and I realised I'm actually doing inner child work. So there's a lovely lady called Lucia Capaccioni who has a book called Recovery of Your Inner Child. And what you do is some of you out there may have heard of it. So what you do is you use your dominant writing hand as your nurturing parent, and you use your non-dominant to be the inner child. So it's quite fun with the dexterity to do it. But when I wrote down my inner child, she actually said, I'm really angry that you're not working with animals. And it did just really culminate with obviously what happened with YouTube, that I realised that actually she was really sad that I wasn't doing it. So, I promised her and said, right, I'm going to start doing this, and we're going to do this. We're going to have animals as part of the business again. And that's really where that journey started, where I trained in the canine flow. Then I trained. Good evening, Carla. You might be somewhere else. And she said, good afternoon.
She is, yes.
Okay. Well, good afternoon to wherever you are in the world. So it's evening here in the UK. So yeah, so I trained in the canine flow. Then with the animal communication came about a bit ad hoc, really. It was just that I was around someone who I'd done a canine flow session with, and they actually decided they didn't want me to work with their dog anymore. They got quite cross about it. And what happened was I was actually trying to talk to the dog without my friend knowing. And so it just naturally happened that I started talking telepathically and just saying it in my mind. And then I realised that actually when I was saying it, the dog was responding. And I was like, okay, like, are you understanding me? This is a bit strange. And this continued forwards. And, it got to the point where actually I had to part from that friendship. And I remember that day very well. And I actually, knelt down to the dog and said, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to leave, and I'm not going to be able to see you again, Bubby. And he actually kind of got up on his back legs and actually put his front paws on my shoulder. So that's how that journey started. And what happened with the animal communication from there really was that we had little behavior experiments. So I had a friend that thought her cat was pregnant, and I said, I'd asked obviously kind of the obvious questions, and I just let me ask the dog, because the dog was a Staffy cross, and Staffies are very maternal. I said, let me just ask the dog, and I just went, is she pregnant? And I just got a yes with that really big sigh, and I was like, okay. And that really shocked me. And as I was like still in shock from that, I heard a really high pitched, I'm sorry. And as I turned around, she was looking straight at me, and I was like, okay, this is really happening. And then I tried it with some birds in the park, as you do. Had a pigeon near to me, and I just was like, yeah, let's just try this. So I just said, what's your name? And she said, Maggie. And I was like, okay, and whilst I was having a little chat with her, I then heard Sam in a really deep voice. And when I turned around, there was this Canadian goose looking at me. And it just really went from there. It, escalated in that sense. I had a medium friend say to me, no, spirit are saying to me, you are definitely talking to them. This is definitely happening. And I therefore trained in it because I really wanted to use that further. And that's kind of how my journey really sort of actually kind of crescendoed, if you like. And I'm kind of now sort of starting to do much more of what we were doing. But in terms of kind of, our pets being our mirror, the first time this really came about for me was actually when my cat passed away in 2016. And it's really since then that I've actually begun to see, exactly as I say, really, that, pets are our mirror. They are our messengers. They are part of the collective consciousness. So, they are here to heal their own wounds, but also to help us heal our wounds. And sometimes it's jointly. So sometimes they come together, and this can often be from past lives. So there's a fabulous book for anybody that's really interested in pets and past lives by a lady called Madeline Walker, which is literally called, Pets and Their Past Lives and How They Come Back to Heal Us. And I read this book in like about 3 days flat. It was just so incredible and started me on that journey. So that's really where where my journey started, was when my cat passed away, because I'm quite an honest person, so I'm going to just be completely open in this. She used to suffer with UTIs, urinary tract infections, and it was only when she passed away that I realised that actually when she had one, I had very mild symptoms. And it was that thought in my head kind of going, really? Like, is that is that really possible? So of course, you've got that thought, and I'm sure you will know very well, when we have that thought and it is truth, spirit, the universe, the angels, they will all kind of collude, if you like, in a nice positive way to bring you people that affirm this, and really that's what's happened. Thank you, Carla. So that's what's happened, is I've had people affirming this to me. For instance, I had a client who came to see me just for human therapy at the time, but she'd seen that I worked with animals, and she said, can I just ask you this question? I said, yes, of course you can. And she said, I think my dog actually took a condition away from somebody. And I said, right, okay, what makes you think that? And she said, well, he was a pet therapy dog, and he used to go and see this little girl, and she said, I think he took her condition away from her. And I'm getting goosebumps even now. And I said to her, okay, well, what did he pass of? And she said, stomach cancer. And I said, and what did the little girl have? And she said, stomach cancer. And I know and I believe that they can absorb, obviously, our symptoms, because to me, symptoms are just energy. When you look at the likes of Louise Hay, Julia Cannon, even Dolores Cannon to a certain point, obviously, is involved in that. You've got Bessel van der Kolk, all of these kind of people are all saying, obviously, that we've got that, it's the metaphysical side of health. So I've, certainly since my cat has passed, I've had that belief massively, because I could see the mirror in terms of our energy. And I just said to her, well, what I would say to you is that if he did do that, I said, at the end of the day, that was their soul contract. Sorry, I'm looking as if I'm speaking to the client. I said to her, that's their soul contract. I said, they've decided that before they incarnated onto the earth. And she said, but I didn't want him to do that. I didn't want him to give his life for her. And I said, but it wasn't your choice. I said, and this is what I say to so many people, pets offer us something that we never really get anywhere else, which is unconditional love. And that includes something of that kind of ilk.
Yeah.
And I said to her, how do you know that actually that little girl isn't going to go on to do something that absolutely shifts the consciousness, that makes a global difference to this planet? And in order for her to do that, she needed to be rid of that particular energy, that particular condition. And she had tears in her eyes, and she was like, I hadn't really thought about it like that. And, and I left her with that, because I just felt like that was reassuring for her. And obviously I can't say yes or no whether they did, but I just said to her, I think at the time I did say to her, are you getting goosebumps? And she said yes. And I normally do say that to people, are you getting goosebumps right now? And if they say yes, and I say, well, goosebumps means truth, unless you're in a draft or something practical like that. But she wasn't. And I said, that normally means truth. And I just left that with her. So, it's amazing how they can mirror. So just to get on a little bit more as to, why this happens. So we're getting on to a bit more of the science now. So one of the ways that pets, so not just dogs, I do work with dogs, cats, horses. I'm kind of open to working with any animal. I'd love to work with a big cat.
Birds.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because, they're all souls, you can always communicate with them. But one of the ways that pets sense the world is through electromagnetic fields. And as we all know, our heart is, a very big electromagnetic field. It's 100,000 times stronger electrically and 5,000 times stronger magnetically than the brain. And there's a lovely institute called the HeartMath Institute, which some of your viewers might have heard of, who have done a lot of research on this in terms of this heart vibration. And it's something we work a lot with in canine flow as well, the heart. And they have actually discovered that actually more messages go from the heart to the brain than the brain to the heart. And they've also obviously done a lot of research as to our heart emitting that energetic field outside of ourselves, often as far as like 20 feet around us. And so this thing is our pets pick up on this. They pick up on our heart. They pick up on what we are emitting. And I'm going to talk more about that, because often people just think that that's emotions, and it goes so much deeper than that. So I want to share that today, and also want to share a little bit more of how they show this with us as well. So we're going to be given some examples, some demonstrations, and also some just kind of tidbits that you can take away. Now, some of your viewers, good evening, Magella, if I've said that right. So good evening. So some of your viewers may know, if you're healers out there, that you might have done that experiment of kind of walking in until you can kind of start to feel somebody's energy field. So if you haven't, then certainly do that. See if you can go to a healing day where they do this, because it will give you an idea of what pets can sense. So that's something that I definitely wanted to share with you with regards to that. Now, what this means is, apart from that, they can pick up what our heart emits. They can pick up so much more than that. So even when you place your hand on a piece of furniture, for instance, often your pets will go over and sniff this, and this is because your energetic blueprint is actually still there. And oh, thank you, Magella. So the energetic blueprint is still there. So one person I do want to share with you, who we deal a lot with in the canine flow side of things, is a gentleman called Rupert Sheldrake. Now, he talks very much about morphic resonance. Now, in layman's terms, what he means by this is a group energy bond. Okay, so what happens is that actually when pets live with you, they create this group energy bond with people in the household. So if there's more than one person, then sometimes that group bond can kind of meld, and you'll get different traits from different people that bond with this pet. But often they will bond with one person in particular. You'll see a lot more of that particular personality or traits coming out. So that's something he talks a lot about. And for instance, you can see this often where, if you've got an anxious pet, you've got an anxious owner. Even my brother, bless him, he works in the veterinary world still. And even though he doesn't fully understand, what I do and how it all works, I said to him, I said to him exactly that, you telling me that, when you get an anxious pet, you don't have an anxious owner. And he was like, actually, normally you do.
Yeah.
So, even though he doesn't necessarily understand, he understands it in a different way. So this is what I tend to say to people is they do. And often when you've got, say, two owners in a household and two pets, again, you'll find that one mirrors one and one mirrors the other. And it's really interesting. It's kind of like people watching in a way, but it's really interesting to observe the dynamics when you're actually around people's houses, like when I've been to friends' houses and I've seen that, and I'm like, yep, that pet definitely takes after them, and vice versa. So it's really interesting. But it's not, it's not just emotions that they pick up on. So they actually do pick up on beliefs as well, because everything is energy. So thoughts, beliefs, they're energy too. And whatever we have within our energy field, they're going to pick up on what's kind of most current, if you like. So what's emitting at that moment of time, what's most conscious. And I just want to share with you a little story. These guys are going to probably come up a couple of times in this chat this evening. Is for a period of time, I think it was last year, I fostered a couple of boys, tabby boys, Trigger and Boise. I didn't name them, but you guess where that was from.
Yeah.
And they taught me early on, I mean, literally the day after they arrived, they taught me so much more about pets being our mirror, because about 3 or 4 days before that, I'd had to let go of a very toxic friendship. And I'd actually had triggered in me a belief that I was unlovable. Now, I knew it was that because I'm very aware of my triggers, and I often will sit down and go, right, what's this about? What's the belief? Let's just get to the bottom of it. And so I knew it was that playing out. And it was to the point that actually when I actually went out for a meal, I could have literally blown the walls out of the restaurant, because it was so claustrophobic as to how it was affecting me. And when I got home, I was like, right, I'm going to have to deal with this. I can't do this anymore. So me being me, I sat down and did therapy work on myself, parts work, and I started rolling out this belief. Now, what I haven't said to you is the day before Trigger and Boise had arrived, and Boise was quite kind of, cheeky chappy, like, you're right. Yep, this is where we are. Great. Whereas Trigger went straight behind the settee, wouldn't come out. And the day after, as I say, when I was rolling out this energy, I had my eyes closed and I was sitting there doing this, pulling this belief out of me. And suddenly I felt this fur. And I opened my eyes and it was Trigger. So I'd released that belief and he came out from behind the settee and he never went behind it since. And it took me a period of time before I actually clocked and went, oh my goodness, you were displaying that belief that I felt I was unlovable by kind of hiding behind the settee. And as soon as I've released it, you've now come back out. you know. And I would say he was the more sensitive one out of the two. He was a lot more connected in that way. Although Boise was much more connected to me, Trigger was often the one that kind of displayed things more so. So it just gives you a bit of an idea as to what they do and how they do it, and even to the point that when they went back to their mum, let's just say it didn't go very well in terms of the way it was encountered, and I was a little bit angry, shall we say. And actually he displayed that. So Boise, when his mum came to get them, he would not even speak to her. He literally was like, nope, I don't want to talk to you. And I sat there and I was like, oh my God, you are displaying me how I feel right now, of like, I don't want you to go. And I'm, as I say, it didn't happen as it was meant to happen. And so yeah, there was that little bit of frustration for me. I mean, all's forgiven now, it's fine. But and I just thought, oh my goodness, you are so displaying that I'm feeling quite peed off, excuse my language. He just would not talk to her at all. Like, even when they got in the carriage, would not, like, turned away. So it just shows you how much they can mirror us, and in different ways.
Yeah. So we just got a couple. Carla has asked,
yes,
do they know if our heart and brain are a negative or a positive charge?
Do they know if our heart and brain are a negative or a positive charge? Depends what you mean by negative or positive charge.
Yeah, if you let us know, Carla.
Yeah, because I'm not quite sure how to answer that at the moment.
Yeah. And Magella says pets are like children.
Absolutely, yeah. So children too, and again, I've seen this in the same household actually, that the two dogs were picking up on the two owners. Exactly the same thing happened. One of these people in the toxic friendship had a lot of anger in them. That's why, unfortunately, as I say, it had to be ended. But they had a lot of anger in them, and I could see that when they got triggered, their two children, one of them would actually start hitting the other child. So they pick up on our heart as well. So absolutely, spot on. They do very much pick up on this, babies as well. And the thing is obviously, with the children that are being born now, it's the millennial children, they're even more sensitive to this. So it is up to us to be responsible as to, what we're feeling and, what's being emitted, and help ourselves heal, because the more we heal, the more, we open ourselves up to our kind of natural essence of truth, compassion and love, and kind of heal those childhood wounds, the less we're transferring to them to pick up on as well. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and Ali says, hello ladies, two people. So Victoria's helping with Franny at the moment.
Yes, I am indeed. Good evening, Ali. Lovely to have you on here as well. So definitely, Carla, come back to us, just clarify that question a little bit for us, please. That'd be lovely.
And Magella says, when I got my dog, she had a bad temper. Living with me, she became very calm and is so funny, started copying me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And this is the thing, they're not our mirror all the time. They do have their own issues. They're going through life. They might have things that they came in with. I always say to people, animals come into your life often to teach you different lessons as you go through life. So for instance, Puss that I've got now at the moment, she's I'm fostering her from a charity called the Cinnamon Trust. Amazing charity, definitely look them up. But I keep calling her Phoebe, which was my previous cat. And I did say from the start, before I even actually had her in my life, when they asked if I would look after her and help her, I just said, goodness me, she sounds so much like Phoebe. But I keep calling her Phoebe unwittingly. I'm not thinking about my own cat. And I am like, has she come back in a different body to visit me now to help me further on my journey? And who knows, but yeah, it definitely happens that they do come in to teach you lessons, but it is all about that awareness of just understanding what it is they're coming in for, and just seeing the reflection, but they definitely do have their own wounds to deal with as well.
Yeah, it's like my cat Gyps. When I went to get her from the rescue home, she let me hold her for 15 minutes or so. She hates being picked up. She really hates. And we did share a past life, which we both healed together. Okay. And, when I've had teeth issues, she's had teeth issues. When I had a mole removed, she then ended up cutting herself and having stitches in exactly the same place. So it's like, you know, what you're saying about the mirroring or their own things, but then she goes off and does her own things. And, you know, and if I'm crying, you know, she's not one of those pets that will come and all cuddle up. She's like, oh God, I can't handle that, and walk off.
But sometimes, I mean, I don't know whether it is, it might not be, but sometimes again, that can still be a reflection of different things with us. You know, I mean, I know somebody around me recently said, you know, oh, I get frustrated with my cat. And I said, well, you know, what is it that frustrates you? And they said, well, they're so aloof, you know. And again, sometimes that is a mirror. It's a mirror that actually, you know, because when they're aloof, it sometimes feels like we're being rejected, like, you know, we're not being liked. So again, it can be a reflection of something within us, that we have that belief, I'm rejected, or, you know, I'm abandoned. So I'm just looking at Carla's question. So you spoke of the heart and the brain having a magnetic charge. I was wondering if the charge was negative or positive. So with the heart, we were just talking about it being stronger than the brain. So what it emits out is stronger than the brain. As to whether it's negative or positive, that isn't something that I could probably say right here, right now. Definitely look up the Heart Math Institute. They actually do have a course free at the moment, or it certainly was the last time I looked, during lockdown, called the Heart Math Experience. And they teach you about heart locking techniques and heart-based meditation. So they may be able to explain that a little bit more, but I definitely know that obviously what the heart emits is so much stronger than obviously the brain, that electromagnetic field. I'm just trying to think, because the earth is more of a neutral energy that helps us, you know, when you ground, obviously you connect to the earth. And obviously that kind of helps neutralize our electrical environment inside of us. But yeah, I'm sorry, Carla, I don't really know whether it's a negative or a positive charge. That's a bit too much physics and for me. But yes, hopefully we will be able to answer other questions for you. So yes, it's not just so it's not just emotions, and it's not just beliefs as well. So I want, you know, all your viewers out there also to consider that pets can be mirrors in other ways. So I want you to think about the things that you might dislike about your pet. Now, I know a lot of people could go, you can't ask me that question. But I really want you to consider it. Now, I'm sure most people on here will have a pet, but if somebody out there doesn't have a pet, then think about your partner, or think about a close friend, you know, even a parent possibly. So I want you to think about the things that you might dislike about your pet. So often people will come up with things like needy, you know, destructive, attention seeking. Oh, they're such a, you know, scaredy cat. So think of those things that you dislike about your pet for a moment. So I'm just going to give you kind of a couple of seconds to do that. And this can be something that you continue doing and reflecting on. And as I say, this can apply to humans as well as it can to pets. So now the reason I've asked this is because one of the therapies I do is called parts work. And I work with parts of people that are involved in things. So this is when somebody says, oh, part of me wants to do this, part of me doesn't, or, you know, I'm between a rock and a hard place, or I feel torn. Often that's to do with parts inside of us that are having a bit of an inner conflict. And the reason I say this is because what happens is something that we dislike in other people or our pets is something that we dislike in ourselves. Okay, so anything that you know, niggles you or irritates you about your pet, if it's a human quality, look at that within yourself, because again, they are reflecting that back to us. They're reflecting back our shadows that we need to heal within ourselves. And this is, you know, why it's really lovely to do the work that I do, because that way you can then work with owners on that, about accepting themselves, accepting their shadows, you know, seeing why they're there, you know, in what context, for instance, they are useful and would be good for us, you know, because everybody thinks their shadows are bad, and actually they're not, you know, they're not bad. You know, it's just about accepting, you know, I love, but I still would have that emotion of hate within me. Just because I don't feel it or use it doesn't mean it's not within me if you know, it happened upon us. But it's about accepting that, because what happens is when you bury one, you bury the other. So if I bury the fact that I have hate inside of me, even if I don't use it, I then bury the love. And so that's a really important point, is looking at those traits. So if you do have a pet, for instance, that is needy, and that normally then means, as I say, that, you know, you dislike that part of yourself that is needy. And sometimes for people, that's really hard to accept. Like, I'm not needy, you know. But when we get a bit defensive like that, it probably means that we are. We just don't want to accept it. So definitely look at it in that way. But also we can look at it in terms of the opposite side. So also think about, okay, what do you love or like about your pet? Okay. And what I would say to people is, it's a little exercise you can do. You can say, my cat is, or my dog is, or my horse is, or whatever it is, my tarantula is, and write down those different things that you like about them. Again, the human quality side of that. If you substitute the pet, so dog, cat, horse, whatever it might be, for heart, then you're coming on to something. Then you're connecting to something. So, for instance, if you said, "Oh, my pet is, absolutely loving and really sensitive," then you substitute that. My heart is really loving and very sensitive. And so again, it's a good way of actually acknowledging the good within yourself, because again, we're not always great at doing that. We're great at criticizing ourselves. I can put my hand up and say I have a very strong, or did have a very strong pusher, an inner critic and perfectionist, and they all tag team, but that's another story. But I've had to work on that, and I've had to pretty much tell my inner critic to do one, let's just say, without me swearing, and I've had to become aware of it and go, no, you're not going to be this time. That's your belief, it's not mine. And so actually looking at what we love about our pets, we can then actually start loving ourselves more fully as well. So that's something else, obviously, that they can mirror as well. So it is about that acceptance, of that shadow side, but also of us and our nature and our natural essence. As I say, it always goes back to that and our heart. Okay. So let me just move on. Sorry, bear with me 1 second.
That's okay. And whilst you're doing that, Magella says, when I got my dog, she had a bad temper living with me. Oh, no, that was with this. There she goes. So I got her from the dog trust, and she was treated very badly before she went to dog trust, but she has now passed. Oh, bless her.
Oh, I'm really sorry to hear that, but she was obviously in the right place. And this is the thing, often you will get pets that, have been traumatized and, they and been through a lot. And, once they find that home, where it's because everything a pet does, not just dogs. I know I've got it on my website as dogs, but everything a pet does, including horses, including, the larger mammals, is to feel safe. So if they come into a home where you help them to feel safe, that's the most wonderful thing that you can do for them, given their background. We know with Puss that there's a possibility that she could have been abused in the past. Unfortunately, due to somebody having a medical condition that meant they wouldn't have quite known what they were doing.
Yeah.
And you can definitely see that with her. When I first got her, she didn't like loud voices, and I wasn't shouting at her, but, if she scratched something, you kind of go, no, and she would hiss. And I was like, oh, okay, right, okay, you've been shouted at. And, that, and so what I learned to do then was actually just go up and pick her paws off of the things she was scratching. And I just said to her, I won't shout at you, darling, you're safe here. I'm not going to do anything to hurt you. And you just tease it out of them. So I think the thing is that, when they've been able to come to a home like that and they've had that safety, that makes a big difference, that they can actually, start to build that trust again and feel safe. It's really important to remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, bless you,
5 years.
Yeah, and it is, because I think the thing, as I said earlier, they're the only species, if you like, that shows us unconditional love. Everything else really is conditional that we get from everyone, including ourselves, most of the time. So again, look at how your pet interacts with you, even if they've passed. Look at, what did you love about them in that respect? I always just think, well, they don't care what I wear, they don't care what my hair looks like, they don't care whether I'm wearing makeup, they're not bothered if I swear. Then, it's all of those things that, we're too often kind of more concerned with. And I think they just care, to be honest, that their needs are met. That she's got food, that she's got water, that she's got love and cuddles and play, and that I love her for who she is. I'm not trying to change her into anyone else, and it's about us actually doing that with ourselves, because we're great at doing that with our pets. But actually, how you treat your pet, how you love them and allow them to be themselves, also do the same with yourself. So again, it is that mirror of even how you treat them can make that big difference as well. So just moving on to a few more examples really to share with you tonight, because I really wanted to get that across to you as well. So I'm going to share a little case study that I did when I was training canine flow, actually. And I went to see a lady who whose dog was attacking other dogs. It was to the point that, you know, she actually said to me, he nearly ripped down a wall and pulled her arm out of the socket to actually get to a dog. And he was quite a big dog. So obviously she was very concerned about this. And I said, you know, I'm training, that's fine. You know, I'm happy to come down and we can see what we do. And effectively during this time, I just felt guided to say to her, have you ever been attacked? And she then actually shared a very personal story with me about the fact that she had been. There were still emotions there with regards to that. And because I'm trained in EMDR, I actually worked with her to reduce those emotions using the EMDR. And as I was doing that, as we were releasing those emotions, her dog got up and was like whimpering and whining and, you know, and I said, he can feel the energy shifting. He can feel it releasing. And the thing is that, you know, I checked in with her, it was about a week later, and said, how's things going? Obviously, I did the canine flow with her as well. But we checked in after that, and she said, I took him to the vets and he was as good as gold. He didn't do anything.
Yeah.
You know, and I went back a second time and there was a little bit more to do in terms of obviously the attack and other things, you know, and again, you know, he got better and better in each session. So again, it just shows you that they can pick up on, you know, lots of things, not just present, but also past. And, you know, I've had pets, for instance, where, you know, I had one pet where they were scared to get in the bath. To be bathed. And of course, you know, when you're a dog, that can be sometimes be tricky when they're covered in mud and the owners want to do that. And I did say to the owner, like, you know, do you have a fear of water or anything? And she, no, nothing. Took 5 sessions, bless her, before she went, actually, yeah, I do. You know, I remember having this dream and it was all about being stuck and, you know, deep water, and I don't like that. And I said, well, he's displaying that. You know, they're displaying that for you. You know, so sometimes owners don't realize it's there. You know, it's only when we kind of delve a bit deeper that they kind of go, oh my goodness, now I remember. So even things like childhood trauma is a big one. So for instance, pets with separation anxiety normally have what we call a codependent owner. So this is where there's, you know, kind of underlying feelings of, you know, things like insecurity and abandonment, you know, quite sort of serious, not having much fun, kind of everything's externalized. So, you know, loving others first, protecting others first, looking after other people's needs first, being responsible for other people first. So that's mirrored often, you know, in the fact that kind of codependents need someone else in their life, if you like, to give them the approval, and they don't like kind of being on their own. I mean, there's a lot more to it, but I'm just trying to kind of summarize it for this hour. And separation anxiety pets, of course, you know, don't want to be on their own, and they're mirroring this. Sometimes there's also other beliefs in there as well. So other things that can happen is things like I am separate, i.e. I am separate from source, or I am separate from myself. So that can often occur as well. But what happens with any experience, not necessarily just childhood trauma, but when a part of us has gone through an experience in life, if we haven't healed that, if we've repressed emotions, if we've not dealt with it, then what happens is that is kind of there within us. And often this wonderful universe loves to send us kind of little experiments for us to, you know, go, here, heal that one now. And you know, up comes the experience. And, you know, it's great if you do the kind of things I do, and perhaps many of your viewers out there are doing therapies where you can go, okay, yeah, I've been triggered. This is my belief. I've been abandoned, you know, or I'm alone, or whatever it is. And you can work on it and you can release it. And that's fine, you know. But what can happen is, you know, if we haven't dealt with that, our pets will pick up on the emotions. Our pets will pick up on that part of us. And so then they will display it back to us. If you think about, you know, trigger with the I am unlovable belief, you know, that's another big one. I mean, I had a lady when I went to a retreat, and she had a beautiful Clumber Spaniel called Elvis, and she has given me permission to share this many times, bless her, and I thank her so much for this, because it's such a good example, and she is very connected to him. And what happened during the training is I was working with him. I was doing some spiral work with him on the lower base of his spine, where the root chakra is, which I know animal healers out there will definitely understand. And that's all about safety and security. And as I was doing this, she literally burst into tears behind me. And I was like, right, okay, very interesting. Because I'm understanding the metaphysical side of health as well. So I was thinking about that. And she said, I don't understand why I'm crying. I don't get it. And I said, okay, well, there's two things going on here for me. I said, I'm working on the lower base of his spine. I said, do you have any lower back pain? She said, yes, I do. And I said, well, metaphysically, lower back pain is to do with support network, so do you feel like you don't have much of a support network? And she said, yeah, I don't feel like I do have much of a support network. And I said, well, he's very connected with you. So by me working with him, I'm actually releasing, that group bond, if you like. I'm releasing some of that energy from you as well. I'm releasing some of the grief that relates to that you don't have a support network, for instance. And she was absolutely gobsmacked. And this continued to be fed, like during the rest of the time that we were together. We went for a group walk, and she hurt her ankle, and she didn't tell anybody. No, none of us knew it. And when I was working with them later on in the afternoon, I was trying to do the canine flow hypnotherapy with Elvis, and he just wouldn't settle. And in the end, I just said to him, right, sweetheart, just tell me what's going on for you. Just show me, because I know you don't want to settle, but I don't understand why. And his mum was sitting on the floor, and he got down and he put his paws on mum. And I was like, right, okay, so it's something to do with you. It's a bit like jigsaw puzzle sometimes with him. And I was like, right, it's something to do with you. And I said, okay, darling, that's brilliant. Keep telling me, what is it exactly? And he went and put his head on her ankle. And I said, okay, is there something wrong with your ankle? And she said, yes, I hurt it on the walk earlier. I said, that's why he won't settle. I said, because it's that group bond. I said, you're not safe. And he's feeling that. I said, because if for any reason you needed to flee, I said, you're less able to do it, because obviously you've hurt your ankle. I said, everything they do is to feel safe. You are him, he is you kind of situation. I said, and that's why he's not settling, because you're not safe, so he's not safe. So I actually said to him, would you be okay moving your head, and I'll work on your mum's ankle, which I did. Did some energy work on it. We helped her ankle. She felt like a warmth coming around it and some healing. Yeah. And then he then settled, and actually he would do the hypnotherapy, So this goes on so much is that, if we're feeling unsafe, they will pick up on it as well. And again, I can give you various instances of that. But yes, definitely when we have gone through an experience in the past that we haven't healed, they will pick up on the emotions that relate to that. So just keeping an eye on the time. There's a couple more things I'd love to share.
Yeah.
So pets that chase. Now, normally, obviously, this is dogs that we're talking about. And I'm not talking about like chasing cats, that kind of thing. What I'm mainly talking about is things that they shouldn't normally chase, like cars, bikes, joggers, that kind of thing. Now, I thought about this for a long time, like, why are they chasing? Now, we know that obviously dogs, are that kind of predator species, they're that prey drive, but I knew that there was definitely something else in it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be attracting those kind of clients. And what I realized was, it's a bit, if you think about when lightning, it grounds its charge into the earth, it connects to the earth, and then it releases its charge. And it's similar with pets, is they often will connect, with a person, with nature, with something in order to release that charge. And I was like, right, that's what this is to do with. It's to do with connection. But I also then realised that every single client that I'd worked with where a dog had chased something that they weren't meant to, the owner was also chasing connection. But obviously in terms of connection to source or universal energy, connection to a higher power, connection to themselves, and often a connection to others. So if you have a pet that chases something that they don't, and I know I'm not the only person out there that thinks this, I've had someone else say it who lives way over in the States and Canada, and I was like, oh, great, we're getting it out there. So if they do, just think about that, whether you are connected to yourself, to a higher power, to other people that are like-minded and who are your tribe. If not, definitely start doing that. And sometimes it can even be things like chasing a purpose. It's that kind of sense of frustration and boredom as well that kind of links in with that as well. So that's definitely one. And also protection. So often when pets overprotect, the first question I say to people is, are you more protective of other people than you are of yourself? Now, I've never had someone yet who's gone, no. Normally everyone has said yes. And I said, right, this is the reason that your pet, normally dogs, but my cat used to do it as well. That your dog is more, is overprotective of you, is because when you are protecting other people more than yourself, what's happening is you are leaving most likely your inner child, well, definitely your inner child, but possibly other parts as well, but definitely your inner child vulnerable and unsafe. Now, I'm not judging you for that, because normally when we protect other people first, it's because that's been modeled through our childhood.
Yeah.
We've not been told that that's wrong or we should be doing it any differently. So it's just what we've learnt. But if we've learnt it, we can unlearn it. So because it leaves your inner child feeling unsafe, that's what's being emitted, even if you're not conscious of it. And your dog will pick it up. Your pets will pick this up. So it's a really big thing to remember. And often I will use the parts therapy to then help people kind of make that shift and actually obviously start to kind of have that healing journey in that respect. So that's definitely another one to share with you as well. Also, sitting on feet is another indicator, which I love. It's mainly dogs that do it, because dogs have the biggest heart per body mass of any animal. So that's often why they're much better at doing this. But as I say, cats do it. Horses I've seen do it as well. So it's not just dogs, but obviously they're the main culprits, if you like, in a good way. But often when
you go on a horse sitting on your feet,
you don't. I've had a horse stand on my foot, and that was very painful. And I had to leave the field because they could feel the healer vibe, and they were literally like queuing up, but it was getting quite chaotic and dangerous. So I kind of had to just gently walk out the field. So yes, it does hurt a lot. But yes, when they sit on your feet, if you think about, your feet are to do with grounding. Your feet are what ground you onto the earth, onto sand, grass, etc. And actually, when they sit on your feet, they're trying to ground you. So normally when they sit on your feet, I say to people, are you feeling a little bit kind of unsure at the moment, a bit scattered, feeling a bit ungrounded? And again, I've not had anybody say no yet. And it does happen a lot, so if you see your pet, sitting on your feet quite a bit, then just check in as to how you're feeling, because it's so easy for us not to realize how we are feeling. But I've, again, with Trigger and Boise, I've seen it so many times over the time they've been with me. For instance, I don't drink hardly any caffeine. I went to a friend's, had a cup of tea there, came back, and they were just hammering tongs at each other. I was like, I'm going to kill you, not if I kill you first. I'm going to get you. And I was just like, whoa, seriously, like, what's going on, guys? And because, of course, I know this mirror, I was like, right, okay, how am I feeling? And I was just like, oh, yeah, my energy is like, I wasn't anxious, but I was very antsy. I was like, right, do this, do that. It was like being super hyperactive, and I was like, oh, okay, that's why they're doing what they're doing. And I, again, it's about being responsible and being aware of that. So I went to the gym. I think I went for a walk as well. Had lots of calming teas and was like, right, okay, better kind of just keep an eye on that, because they were so sensitive at picking that up. So pets can be mirrors in so many different ways, as I say, beliefs, energy, thoughts, ailments. I went to see one lady who, the dog had a problem with their left shoulder. And I said, do you have any problem with your shoulder? And she said, no. She said, I've got a problem with my right shoulder. And my osteopath said it's referred from my left, but no. And I was like, it's referred from your left, and your dog's got a problem with their left shoulder. So again, I see this so much. And I would just say to people, it's so beautiful, because you can learn so much from them, like understanding that they're not just here for companionship. They have come into our lives to help us heal in some way. They've come into our lives often to help themselves heal in some way, either whether that was because we had a past life together, or whether because you're the person that's going to help them release their trauma, as they move forwards, because you're going to understand them enough. And I'm hoping to do a meditation actually that very much relates to this, but very much is about kind of stepping into your pet's shoes. And actually, and that's often what I do, I think, is when I connect, I often am stepping into their shoes. I did it with my elderly foster panda, like all the time. So I just really had an idea of what he needed, and we could work with him on that. So yeah, there's so much to share, but too little time to do that.
Exactly. But then you can come back, you see. This is the beauty. Yeah. You see, we can actually have you back. And what you were talking about with that, Magella was saying, she just seems to train and make them safe somehow, and it's a mutual trust, I feel. So again, it's animals choosing you for you to help them, as well as them help you.
Well, they can pick up on your heart, as we've said earlier, your heart's an electromagnetic field. So if you are radiating that sense of love and that they can trust you, they're going to pick up on that. I've seen it firsthand, even before I did all this training. When I did dog walking, I remember, I'd got some dogs in the car. We came across this roundabout. There was all like chaos, and I was like, what's going on? So me being me, quite practical and organised, out we get of the car. Okay, like, what's going on, guys? And they were like, we're trying to catch this dog, and they'd got like people around this roundabout. They were all screaming at this dog, and this dog was just like, oh. And I'm quite kind of, get involved with things like that. And I was like, right, everyone just stop, breathe, and they'd got sausage. And I said, right, please, could somebody give me the sausage? And I said, right, you keep an eye on that side of the roundabout so nothing comes. You that side of the roundabout, and you the one behind me. I said, then we know all the exits are covered for cars, because we want to keep him safe. And then I just remember looking at this dog, and I think he was a Staffy again from recollection. So I knew they're quite easy to connect to anyway. They're very sensitive. I knelt down, had the sausage, and I just said to him, darling, just trust my energy. I'm here to help you, and I'm here to keep you safe. And I said, please, just when you're ready, just feel into my energy, just trust my intention, and I'd got everyone else to like stop screaming. I'd got my energy very calm, even though I was worried about him. It was like, no, just calm that energy down, because that's what he needs to feel right now. Because I say to people, and he did, sorry, I'll just finish off, he did, and he came to me and they said, wow, he really trusts you. It's like, yes, because I'm not screaming like a banshee, and I'm not screaming from north, south, east and west as well. And again, I say this to people, like, when you're trying to recall your dog, tune into your emotions, because if you are screaming at them, going, come on, Roger, get back here right now. If you don't get back here now, I'm gonna, whatever it is. If somebody was screaming at you like that, would you want to go anywhere near them? You'd be like, I'm not coming anywhere near you.
See ya.
And it's exactly the same with our pets. I had exactly the situation with Trigger when he went into the woods and I had to go off somewhere, and I was like, I need you back in the house, because there was no cat flap. So obviously I needed him safe. And in my head, I was like, God, where are you? God, I'm so frustrated. And his brother couldn't find him. He'd gone out and looked. And I was like, oh, he's not going to come back, because I'm in this real tense, stressed, so I just visualized him coming back and me praising him, saying, good boy, that's what I wanted. Well done. I'm keeping you safe. Thank you. I'm being really calm about it. And within 3 minutes, he was back in that door. And I did exactly that. I just said, good boy. Well done. Thank you for listening to me. So, again, you can say to them, trust my energy, trust my intention. So, in reply to the lady that just said that, absolutely, they will pick up on that, and they know if you've got that healer vibe. They know if they can kind of open themselves up to you and be much more vulnerable with you, and that they're going to be accepted for who they are.
Yeah, and Carla has said, our cat is 20 years young. Her name is Sassy, and her name fits. And she goes on to say, when she was younger, she would take my things and soak them in a water dish, socks, headband. Then I realised if I disciplined the kids, that was when she would dig up the plants.
Ah, okay. So yeah, digging is often kind of, again, they're trying to get that energy out as well. And connecting to depending on where she did it, if she did it outside, again, that's them connecting to the earth, and they do that to kind of ground the energy. So it's helping them release emotion. Obviously, it's not great for you if you just planted stuff, but yeah, absolutely. That's the thing. It's when pets do things, look at what's going on in the household. What emotions are kicking off, what arguments might have just happened. They don't do things out of spite. They're either scared, they've got past trauma, or they're picking up on something in the environment. And it doesn't just have to be owners. They pick up on, Wi-Fi. I mean, I said to you, Ray, didn't I, before I came on, that, my cat, as soon as she's decided, that's it, you've had enough time on the computer, she'll come and sort of pester me to get off the computer. And I do wonder if sometimes she's picking up on my inner child. In terms of her kind of going, right, that's it, I've had enough sitting down, let's do something else. So massively, definitely look at that. So
yeah, and Carla says, so there you go, she's an inside cat.
Okay, so often when you've got inside pets, they have a lot more emotion built up, because they can't go out and ground you know. So also I would suggest for yourself is looking at a feline enrichment. So I'm just going to nip off camera for 2 seconds because I just want to show you this, to show you just how easy this can be. So right, let me get it on camera. So this is an enrichment feeder that I've created out of a cardboard box and toilet roll tubes and non-toxic glue. So it cost me absolutely nothing. And I basically put bits of kibble in there for Puss to find, and I also do it around the flat as well. So I put little bits of kibble so that she can find it, because sniffing and smelling helps them to release emotion. So if you have got inside pets, definitely any kind of canine enrichment, feline enrichment, is really useful for them. Snuffle mats, but yeah, you can do this literally for zero cost, to really help them. So.
Yeah, that's what we like. Zero costs. So, as you know, I do guided meditations, angel card readings, and each week I like to ask my guests whether they would like me to do a mini guided meditation or pull an angel oracle card for themselves and those watching. So, Victoria, what would you like me to do?
Ooh, drum roll. I think for everyone we should pick the angel oracle card reading.
We like that one. So, as usual, arcanes and bless the cards. Okay. And obviously, when I pull the cards, I pull them for what you need to know for your highest good at this moment in time. Because even though I work with the past is where we heal from to be present. And when I work in the future, if you know your future, you're not worried, so you're back in the present. So what does Victoria and everyone who's watching this need to know for their highest good at this moment in time? What's Victoria and everyone?
Do they need an air conditioner?
Yeah, definitely need an air conditioner. Showing everyone, apart from the air conditioner. Okay, so this is actually really quite fits in, as they normally do, with this thing. Surrender to the journey, release control.
Okay.
And that, which kind of like really does tie in with what we're talking about. And again, it's not trying to control your animals or your pets. It's actually working with them and allowing them to work with you, rather than the control that you might think you have.
Well, often when we control, it's because we don't feel safe. So often it is that sense, Other things can underlie it, definitely. Often the belief I'm not good enough is another reason that people control. So yeah, it's definitely about kind of letting go of the control and actually everything that's underneath it as well,
Yeah, so a great card to come out. And Carla says, thank you for this live, great information.
You're welcome.
Brilliant. And Bashesha, great show tonight. I really enjoyed listening to Victoria. Thank you, Bhavesha.
Thank you, Bhavesha. Yes.
It's absolutely wonderful for that. So, Victoria, do you have any insights or thoughts to leave our viewers?
So the one thing that I always say is awareness is empowerment, because if I'm not aware of something, how can I change it? But once I am aware of it, I'm then empowered to change it. Doesn't mean you have to, but I then have more options because I'm aware it's there for me to heal. I'm aware that I'm triggered. And what I would say is, that Albert Einstein quote, do the same thing, you get the same results. So when you become aware of something, it then allows you to be empowered to actually take back control of your life, step into your power and make changes.
Brilliant. So everyone, I hope you've enjoyed this and found it insightful, and the words of wisdom that Victoria has given you will help you further on your journey. So Victoria, if people want to connect with you, how do they do that?
So various methods, Facebook page, so Ametrine Holistics Limited is my Facebook page, or my website as well, ametrineholistics.co.uk. So you've got those two, and I'm also on LinkedIn as myself, Victoria Smith-Gillard, so you can connect with me on there. All my contact details, so the email and telephone numbers are on those places as well.
Excellent. And I will be putting those in the comments, so with straightforward links so you can go. So Carla says, releasing. Well done, Carla. Taking notice of that. And Lorraine says, really helpful. Thank you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
And Jackie, thank you. Very interesting.
You're all more welcome.
Which is absolutely brilliant. So if you have reached that crossroads in your life and you need some help finding your destiny and getting clear on your path, then I would love to be that guide for you. please reach out and connect with me, and we can arrange a free 20 to 30-minute video call to find out more about each other and how I can help you on your journey. And of course, now that we're able to get out and about, if you're looking for a chance to get away and learn more about yourself, heal your past, and see where your future's going, then I'm running a 4-day retreat down in Glastonbury in October. So please feel free to check that out. And of course, you can always join the Angel Wings membership community, where we work with archangels, goddesses, gods, to work on our journey. And we have a community where we do oracle cards, and there's lots of other stuff. So everyone, I would like to thank you so much for watching this, and I would like to invite you to share this video, as I'm sure there are many more women who feel lost and want to get clear on their destiny just like you, and a lot more people with pets who need some help and guidance. And we will definitely have you back on again, Victoria, in the future, because I think we can probably have you on every couple of months. And that with all the information you've got on animals. So everyone, I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and thank you, Victoria, and thank you for the comments. And I will see you all again, same time, same place next week. So thank you all for watching, and all take care.